Hey everyone, welcome back to Warhammer 40k.
Can we get around the bulk of these orcs?
Yes, perhaps. My research produces a minimal waste, so the facility's sluiceways should be accessible.
Lead the way.
Oh, perfect, last cannon. Yes, we absolutely want that. On the whole topic, we were discussing this last episode. The whole topic of just of killing your patients so they don't have to endure more suffering is actually a practice I'm okay with. I know some people aren't, and I think that's completely legitimate. Like, I think it's a hard issue either way, but I'm always of the mind that you should let me rephrase this. I want to be careful how I want to say this. I am of the mind that killing someone, euthanizing them, in the interest of reducing the suffering is a humane thing to do, because you don't have negative intentions. You're trying to say, well, I want what's best for this person. Like, you do have good intentions in my mind, so I think that course of action is appropriate. Of course, some people might take issue with, you ending someone else's life, and I think what becomes a gray issue is that whether or not you have that person's consent to do so, right? So, if you have that person's consent, I think it becomes less of an issue, because they say, I want you to end my suffering. That's one thing. So that's like, doctor-assisted suicide, which I'm okay with. Because for me, at that point, I'm thinking, well, why not, right? The person's asking for it, they're in a lot of pain, and like, you would be ending their pain. Like, I don't see any negative here to not doing that. However, if you don't have the person's consent, it's like, well, what would they want? And I would think in most cases, people would want the lethal dose. However, you can't make that assumption because you're not them, you can't know. But based on the limited information you might have, I think sometimes you'd be forced to make a decision and act with what you think is best. Man, this weapon's amazing. That's a knob. Got him. Alright, so we don't really have any more ammunition left, but that's alright. If someone was saying, well, I don't want you to kill me, I think at that point it's like, well, if they want to live, they want to live, right? So you should respect that. But then I think, obviously, in not all cases will you have that option of, knowing what the patient wants. So I think in some cases, you really do have to make tough decisions. And in the case of the audio log that we had before then, they didn't know what they wanted because they're all injured and they can't speak for themselves. And I think that's where it becomes a really big ethical dilemma, is that, well, the person's not capable for making a decision for themselves, so what do you decide to do? And people see this issue differently, and I think rightly so, because it is a difficult issue. 100%. There's not an easy way about it. And I think that's why I think some people don't credit philosophy as a real science, but hold on, it might not. Okay, I think what I want to say is some people say the philosophy isn't important, but in my mind, philosophy is what lets us ask these questions about ethics, right? I think in my mind, the question is well, what do we do for people who?
Captain, my servitors were destroyed in the initial attack. I may need your help to activate the psychic scourge.
How large is the weapon?
The firing mechanism is at my research lab, but the energy pulse itself travels along conduits from the lab to the orbital spire.
Alright, they didn't really tell me how large it is. But being able to ask, what should we do in these situations, and at least think about them, that I think is derivative of philosophy. Which, again, and
there. We will proceed through that door.
I think the importance of asking those questions is important, because I don't think, if everything was black and white, I think be like, oh, like we just do A in this situation and we do B in this situation. But because nothing is ever black and white in my mind, I think I want the Thunderhammer.
I need time to override the lock, Captain.
Understood, Inquisitor.
Hammer might not be the best choice. I don't know, the hammer might be a good weapon. It is very powerful. Oh my goodness. I'm quite alright with this. And even like for all these other, like you might say, well, like that's just medicine, but I think honestly, philosophy is applicable in a lot of different areas, or at least like ethics, right? And whole thing for like medical research as well. We're in trouble. Oh dear. Alright. Alright, alright. Oh, only in depth to do the end. So for medical research, there's like, to test on humans is a very long and arduous process, like to get to that point. So because there's a lot of safety and protocols in place, but also just too because like the science community is really concerned about being humane, and this is where like, there's two sides of the argument. Like on one hand, because we, and this is all from a, like I get this from a friend, not to say like this verifies like what I'm talking about, but I'm just saying like, this is where I'm getting my opinions from. And if you disagree, please leave a comment below because I'd love to hear about that.
I need time to override the lock, Captain.
Understood.
So we'll try this again. So because there's such a focus on safety, then progress can be quite slow at times. But there's like, well, we know that's safe to do whatever it is that we're doing, which is good. But if you cut corners and say like go like straight to human experimentation, then yes, it's definitely not as safe. But at the same time, I think you can make a lot more progress. And like, I think in some cases, being able to break moral boundaries can earn you a lot more progress. Whether or not like that's the right or the humane thing to do, I think that's like, again, that's a question for philosophy, and I think there's not necessarily a right answer to it. Alright, down you go. But that was a knob. I see. Because and I don't, apologies if I mentioned this before. What they did in Auschwitz, which is like the German concentration camp for Jewish people in World War II, is they would put people in freezing baths and record how long it would take for hypothermia to set in. Was it violent and cruel? Absolutely, 100%, without a shadow of a doubt. But, and I'm not saying this in defense of what they did in Auschwitz. I think it was despicable. The information we have for hypothermia research, the stuff that we have from Auschwitz, is still cutting edge to this day, even in 2017. Which is weird to think about, like that, you know, almost 80 years later. Yeah, I don't think I want to be in the business of the Nobs.
Through here, Space Marines.
Oh, boy, that was exciting.
I thought the Spire to be a ground-to-space transport.
It is. With a few modifications, it also makes an ideal firing tower. The energy pulse should not damage the spire.
You do not sound confident.
Improvisation and experimentation go hand in hand.
Oh boy, speaking of experiments. So, I think that's just food to think about. Saving content. Alright. I am actually going to end the episode here. So, thank you all very much for watching. I am hungry, so I am going to aspire to eat some food. But until then, see you guys next time. And again, thank you for watching. And have a great evening.